Hello and welcome to ZigWheels, folks. Today we have with us Royal Enfield's latest, and this could be their greatest. Why exactly is going to be particularly interesting, because this is the Hunter 350 and it is going hunting for newbies. This is meant to be their most accessible motorcycle on offer. What does that mean? Before I get talking on all of that, let's see what the motorcycle has to say. Well, that's the exhaust note of the new Hunter 350. And to start with the basics, this is a motorcycle that's going to sound very familiar. As most of you already know, it is built on Royal Enfield's J platform, on which we've already had the Meteor and the Classic. But this is meant to attract a completely new audience, because this is meant to be for people who've been a bit wary of getting a Royal Enfield because it feels too intimidating in terms of its size, in terms of its weight, or maybe just in terms of the way it looks. It seems a little too retro. Now, this is a more modern take on a Royal Enfield, and to get people less intimidated by a Royal Enfield, they've made a whole bunch of changes on the platform, which underpins also the Meteor and the Classic. Now, keep in mind, we have not ridden this motorcycle yet and we do not know its prices, because that's going to happen on the 7th and we'll be riding it later, and you can get the full review on the 10th. This motorcycle now we are expecting to cost about 1.7 lakh rupees for the base retro variant, which comes with spoke wheels, drum brakes at the rear and 120 section tires, as opposed to the 140 section that you have here on the top spec metro variant, which also gets disc brakes and this tripper pod here, which we expect to go up to, in terms of price, to about 1.95 lakh rupees, under 2 lakh rupees, so just a bit more expensive than a base Classic 350. To make a motorcycle more accessible for riders includes actually making it more accessible to ride, but also it's kind of a mind game. And that's something the Hunter is playing quite well, because when you look at it, it seems like a tight package, and that is meant to make riders feel that it is not as intimidating as the other bigger Royal Enfields. In fact, in terms of core dimensions, like let's say the seat height, it's at 800 mm, which is on par with the Classic. And if you look at the weight, it's about 10-15 kilograms lighter, so not that much. This is still about a 180 kilogram motorcycle, but it is meant to feel light feeling to ride. And that's down to the changes to the chassis and to the wheels as well, which is a big change. Now, when we come to the chassis itself, the wheelbase has reduced by about 20 millimeters. That's down to the change up here, which is the chassis, the geometry. Now, this is where you'll see that the rake is sharper. This is 25 degrees, where on the Classic is 26 degrees. And the other big change that you will notice immediately, that this has got a 17-inch front wheel. We've had the 19 on the Classic, 18 as well, but this, for the first time in a very long time on a Royal Enfield, you get 17 inches front and rear, right? And along with that, what you're also getting is a slightly sportier stance. The geometry is sharper, like I said, the wheelbase is shorter by about 20 millimeters, all of which is meant to improve agility, to make it more fun. As you can see, the foot pegs are set quite further back than any of the Royal Enfields. The bars are nice, flat and wide, so the stance is slightly sportier as well. So it should be interesting to ride. As for what's powering the motorcycle here, well, it's the same 350cc engine we've seen on the Meteor and on the Classic. It's mechanically the same, but we've seen Royal Enfield tweak the tuning between the Classic and the Meteor and make a big difference with that. And this, like with the Meteor, also has a 17-inch rear wheel, so you should expect it to feel a bit more peppy to ride. And being lighter, they've also wanted it to be a bit more peppy and exciting, so they've tuned it that way. So that should be something worth looking forward to and seeing what it feels like out on the road. In terms of fuel efficiency, this is expected, they say, claim to be about 36 kilometers a liter, which we think will be on par with any of the other 350s that you have, the new 350s from Royal Enfield. Now, before I sum up what I think about the Hunter 350 for now, I'm just going to run through some of the odds and ends that we haven't spoken about. For instance, you have this semi-digital instrument cluster here with the speedometer on this top-end metro variant, whereas the lower variant is going to get a pure analog system, which we haven't seen right now. And of course, that will not get the tripper that you see here. But you do have this USB charging port, which is tucked away here under the front clutch lever. So you've got the amenities in that sense, the basics covered. Is it trying to wow you in terms of the features that it's throwing at you, ride modes and stuff like that? No, it's not. It's still very Royal Enfield in that sense. It's doing few things and with the intention of doing them well, which is something that we will find out when we ride the motorcycle. Now, I do have a couple of clear thoughts about the Hunter 350 and I do have some questions about it as well. Maybe if you have answers, do let me know in the comments. What I do think about the Hunter 350, one thought that started off right at the beginning when I saw it in the flesh was they made a motorcycle on 17-inch wheels that feels convincingly authentic as a modern classic. It doesn't feel gangly or loose in that sense. It's looking the part, it's doing that well while seeming accessible. It still feels appealing. And I think that is a big win. As a motorcycle, what it is going to be like to ride is something I'm looking forward to, but I do wonder whether riders who are looking for an accessible motorcycle are just looking at a 10,000-15,000 rupee price difference and not so worried about fuel efficiency. In which case, I think a smaller sized engine, a 250 maybe, would have made a lot of sense for those riders. But right now, Royal Enfield's smallest engine is the 350 and that's the one we've got here. Do you think this is the right fit for people who are stepping to the Royal Enfield family for the first time as a beginner? Will that be enough as your first motorcycle, so to speak? Do you think that is fine? Do let us know in the comments. And as for the overall motorcycle, I think they have managed to make it look different enough from the other Royal Enfields that they have while being based on the same platform, and they've been very clever with that. They've called it the Hunter 350. Who would buy a Hunter 350 and then step up to a classic or a Meteor is a question I do not have an answer to. And while it is called the Hunter 350, while discussing it with my colleague Arun, we thought that a better name for it would be the Hipster 350. What do you think? Let us know in the comments and do stay tuned to ZigWheels for our full review that's going to come in a few days.